day in this type of business, you will come to the very edge of yourself, and there is no escaping yourself whatsoever. And what really resonated for me with Barbara was her own story. I'll just say, if you don't mind, I'll just say.
Oh, go right ahead.
Point. But what really resonated with me and why I wanted Barbara to speak, and I've been after her for about a year or so to speak, which I'm so glad she's here now, is that Barbara was really, really excellent at her work in PR, running around the world, selling wine, doing amazing things. And then she said, I'm going to be a success coach. And she started up her coaching business and came to the very, very edge of herself. And went through her own personal journey to come straight back out of that. But it just showed me that it doesn't matter how confident you are, how experienced you are, all of the different things that say that I'm going to be perfectly capable at doing this. This journey requires of you that personal growth, going deep and in. And it just showed me just how normal it is. So that's why I really wanted to bring Barbara in front of you, hear her story again, hear her insights. And here we are. So thank you, Barbara, for being with us. And do you have slides? Brilliant. All right, Barbara, over to you.
All right, turning my timer on because I usually do this in longer than 20 minutes. So I'm going to make sure I stay on track. So please forgive me if I speak a bit fast, but then obviously then in the questions we can talk through it. But I do want to get you past problem to solution, because that's what we all care about, right? So yes, so I think everybody heard me in the various breakout rooms, but I'm Barbara Scalera, the Success Hypno Coach. And I spent 20 years as a communications expert in the wine and spirit industry. And as Naomi alluded to, could get up on a stage in London, in Paris, in New York, and, speak to hundreds at a time, no problem. Because of course I had big companies and big brands behind me, and it wasn't me. It wasn't, I was representing the wine producers, the products. And so when I made the switch, because I always loved developing my teams, the people who worked for me, and when I made that switch finally to go off on my own and go into coaching, thinking that, all that confidence and feeling of being the expert in the room would just come with me, and it all disappeared like that. And some of you may have experienced this when you went on your own. Yeah, Crystal, I can see you shaking your head. It's like all of a sudden, who am I? And that voice comes up, right? Who are you to do this? So many people have been doing it for years longer than you, so much better, et cetera, et cetera. And all of my limiting beliefs came up. And actually prior to that, in my corporate career, I didn't realize, as most people do not, but I actually did have a bunch of subconscious programming coming up, causing me to become the absolute workaholic and lead me to the burnout that caused me to finally step away after 20 years. So what I'd like you to do is take you through why that happens, where it comes from. And you can all see my lovely slide here, right?
No.
Oh, no?
I think I need to stop sharing. Sorry, I was still sharing.
Okay.
I stopped it. Yep.
Okay. Okay. So there we go. I'm sorry. I know this is a little depressing, especially when so many of you are having such bad weather, but this is what happens, right? What we've all experienced: brain fog, doubt, procrastination, fear, fatigue. And especially after the past 2 years that we've been through, where our amygdala has been constantly, signaling danger, and we've been in that fight, flight, or freeze for a very prolonged period of time, our subconscious tries to bring us back even more into retreat mode, deeper into our comfort zone, playing small, playing safe. And why the subconscious in the first place is what I really want to talk to you about and have you understand. Because we've got the two parts of our brain, right? If you think of an iceberg, we have the conscious mind, which is what we can see and feel, the thoughts we're aware of during the day, our willpower, our logical thinking, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. And what's the huge block of ice underneath is the subconscious mind, which controls 95% of our thoughts, feelings, actions, and our perceptions, the way we actually perceive ourselves and the world around us. So when you hear the saying, your thoughts control and create your reality, it absolutely is true, but it's your subconscious thoughts. And where do they come from? Well, I want to take you very quickly through the rules of the subconscious mind so that you understand. So we form our subconscious mind ages 0 to 8, 9, 10 years old, because the role of the subconscious is to keep us surviving and thriving. And those are the crucial years when we have to learn how to survive in this world. And those of you who have kids especially know they are like absolute sponges, right? Absorbing everything around them, even the things you don't want them to be absorbing, hearing, learning. And we are designed at this time, our brains are designed to have just one experience, maybe to make a decision about it and write into our subconscious rule book and generalize. So for example, we have to learn that hot things burn from one experience, maximum 2, and then generalize that to all hot things, or else we're in trouble. So that's what our brain is designed to do. We need oxygen to breathe. This is how gravity works. Well, you don't want to decide it's only how gravity works in this one instance when I've jumped off the bed, but now I'm going to jump off the sofa. It's going to be different, right? So that's all very good and crucial to our survival. The problem is that our subconscious also treats some of the negative things that we come across or decide about ourselves in the same way during this time. So you may have been called on at school and you didn't know the answer, and the teacher yelled at you, the kids laughed at you, you got bullied after class, you got in trouble when you got home. And this is, of course, just a general scenario, but just to give you an example, your subconscious will be saying, this was an awful experience. What happened? How did this happen? And you might make a decision as that embarrassed, scared, traumatized child in that moment. What did we do? Well, we stood out, or we spoke out, or the spotlight was turned on us. And you may decide, your subconscious may say, okay, it's not safe to stand out or speak out or have the attention come on to us. And we write into that subconscious rule book like a vow of invisibility. We're not going to put ourselves out there because it causes hurt or embarrassment. And that gets written into that rule book in the same, big black indelible ink that hot things burn or I need oxygen to breathe does. And eventually, so then, we also are absorbing the rules of our tribe. So our tribe, according to our subconscious mind, are the people who are surrounding us during this time, age 0 to 8, 9, 10, who have the most influence over us. So, parents, guardians, teachers, religious figures, our community. And we are sometimes being very directly taught, and other times just observing the unwritten rules of our tribe, such as the types of jobs that are acceptable to do, the amount of money it's normal to have, and what is the relationship with that money. Is it really hard to come by? You have to struggle for it, or it should be very easy and you shouldn't be seen to be trying to go after it, or people who have more than you are evil or it brings unhappiness, or people that have less are the bad ones. all these different rules of our tribe that we are also absorbing and writing into that subconscious rule book. So our conscious mind's only in charge of 5%. You know, this is why our New Year's resolutions haven't worked by now, right? And our subconscious in charge of 95%. And that rule book that then governs our life, because once that book gets closed, that's what your subconscious then uses its power of that 95% of your thoughts, feelings, actions, perceptions to guide you according to that book, right or wrong, because it thinks that that is your survival guide. And so it's crazy. As adults, we are on autopilot, still living by that original rule book we wrote as children. So as children, we are learning what we live through our own experiences and our, the little childlike decisions we make about them, and by what we are observing and what we are being taught. And then that is what governs us from a subconscious standpoint in our adult lives. So we are unconsciously living what we learned at that time. Or another way to put this is that as children, we form our beliefs, and as adults, those beliefs form us and our reality. And so what does that mean as business owners, as entrepreneurs? Well, if you don't have the success that you want yet, and it usually happens two ways, you're either always striving but never arriving at that success, or you are one of these people that arrives, gets there, has it for, a brief period, and then something always goes wrong. The rug always gets pulled out from under us, and boom, we end up right back down where we started. And it happens in a cycle. And if either of those scenarios resonate with you, it is because something about the actions you need to take to achieve the success you want, or the success itself, your subconscious thinks is either not safe for you. So something about those actions or that success isn't safe according to what you wrote in that original rule book, or it's going to cause you pain, or you don't deserve it. Now, why would your subconscious think you don't deserve success? Well, if you were constantly told as a kid, not that one thing that you did was bad, but that you were bad, or you felt responsible, for when mommy left or daddy left, or the divorce, or, why your guardian couldn't get out of bed some days, or whatever that might be. As that child, because as children, we only see the world, through ourselves. So we think that we are all egocentric and everything happens because of us. And so you may have made a decision which as an adult makes you think subconsciously you don't deserve that success, or it's just not available to you. And what does that mean? Well, it wasn't available to your tribe. Right. So the love, the happy relationships weren't available because that's not what you saw during those crucial years, or the abundant wealth wasn't available, or, you were absorbed because the language used in your house was, oh, those people, whether they're the wealthy ones or the poor ones, or they're the entrepreneurs who who seem to do what they love and make all that money, but that somehow must be crooked because we're slaving away at these jobs for the big companies, whatever that might be. But it doesn't seem available to you as that child because it wasn't available for your tribe. And so these are the blocks that we then end up with when we want that success as these amazing entrepreneurs that we are, but our subconscious is not in agreement. And so then what happens? Well, okay, so and yes, that it breaks the rules, right, of your tribe. And then what happens is that your subconscious declares war against you because it's thinking what you want isn't safe and it's my job to protect you. And so then it goes three different ways. There's the preemptive strike, which is what you saw on my first slide, the procrastination, brain fog, fear, that voice that comes up and says, who do you think you are? Nobody will listen to you, etc. And then if that doesn't work, or if that's not the favorite way that your subconscious gets to try and stop you, it also has control over your physical body. So here comes when you get up to do that, TED Talk that you've been dreaming of. Here's the sore throat, the shaky hands, all the nausea, and boom, there goes everything you practiced and could say backwards right out of your head, right? So that's the covert strike in the moment, or then there's the sabotage after the fact. So you have that success, but then what do? You expand too quickly, or partner with the wrong person, or don't follow up the way you should, or you hesitate in the sales conversations and don't come across with that same confidence and don't get the sales. So these are the different ways that the subconscious uses to try and keep you living according to that rule book. So what can you do about it? It sounds very inevitable, right? That this is just the way it is. If your subconscious really has that much control over you, how on earth do you fight that and change this cycle so that you absolutely can have that success and have it come much easier to you? Well, there are other rules of the mind that we need to know. So your subconscious really only pays attention now, besides that rule book, it pays attention to the images that you show it in your head and that you focus on externally repeatedly. And it's the words that you are saying to yourself in your head over and over and out loud. And that's a very good thing, because we can take far more control over that than we do. So what do? Number one, surround yourself with the images of what you want. And I know some of you may have a vision board. Some of you may think that was just woo-woo nonsense, but this is about more than one board. This is about having those images everywhere as your screensaver, on your phone, printed out, and multiple places that you're going to see during the day, and making sure that when you see it, you take that moment to just focus on it, because it's sending that message to your subconscious. This is what we are creating. This is what we want to receive and attract and happen for us. And then you also need to back that up with the words. So how do you do that? Well, some of you may use positive mantras, and that may work very well for you. I like to use questions, and that is because when you ask your subconscious a question over and over again, it automatically starts searching for the answer and searching to implement that answer. So for example, why am I so easily and effortlessly putting myself out there and becoming an absolute rock star on social media? That is a question. If I ask myself that over and over again, I am setting my subconscious with that task. And another rule is that your subconscious wants to move you towards pleasure and away from pain, because primitive times, what was painful could probably kill you, and what was pleasurable was far less likely to do that. So you are using that rule to make either your statements or questions have a very positive emotional effect on you. So I'm not just saying, why am I increasing my social media? Right? That has no emotion to it whatsoever. I'm saying, why am I easily and effortlessly becoming a rock star on social media. Now, I can't say that or read it without smiling. It's causing a pleasurable feeling in me. And that's what you have to do, is have that pleasurable connection that's sending the message that what you want and the actions you need to take to get there. Because that's the biggest part of it, is the actions that are going to get you that success have to seem pleasurable. And when you are repeating a question like that, or a positive statement over and over again, when you're in the shower, when you're brushing your teeth, when you're going to bed at night, and you have those images surrounding you, your subconscious is getting bombarded with that message. And it's like that little 8-year-old, right? So you need to be repeating over and over and over, this is what we want. This is what's safe and right for us. This is what we are creating. Along with that, you are eliminating the negative talk and what you're listening to that would negate that. So if you have doomers and gloomers, if you're always commiserating about how hard it is out there, etc., then that sends your subconscious a message, oh, this is painful. This is not pleasurable. I'm going to sabotage this. So that does take discipline to change, but you have to remember, like Santa, that your subconscious is always listening to you. And what you need to be repeating, saying out loud, focusing on in your head is the positive now that makes your subconscious believe the journey is pleasurable. Okay, I know I'm coming up on time. So I'm just going to quickly keep going with this. So you also are telling yourself, I love this. What is it you need to be doing that maybe you are at the moment resistant to be doing? There's still some fear or reluctance around it, but it's what you need to do to get that success. Then you have to lie to yourself in the beginning, tell yourself over and over you love doing it, find the reasons you do love doing it. Okay, it's a health goal and you don't love getting up when it's still dark and going out in the cold to run, but you love seeing the sun come up. You love that satisfying cup of coffee at the end. That's what you're focusing on. So that what's the message? This is pleasurable. The journey is pleasurable along with the destination. And you are making those actions that you need to do, the 20% of the actions that are going to get you the 80% there, you make them familiar because your subconscious loves what's familiar, because familiar is safe. It hasn't killed you, therefore it's okay. But what's out there is unfamiliar and could possibly kill you because our brains are still working in that primitive way. Okay, so you make it familiar, you build it into your routine, you do what you have to do, are reluctant to do, but that's going to make the biggest difference. You try and do it first thing every morning, or Monday morning, or first thing of the month, and make that into that familiar routine so that your subconscious gets on board with it as familiar and therefore safe. And finally, celebrate your success all along the journey, not just at the end. We look at these goals and we look at them as these mountains we have to climb. And we look at what's pleasurable is all the way up there, and everything between here and there as, this painful, arduous journey. Then your subconscious is going to sabotage it. So you have to be celebrating every day what are the little steps you took. And if you did the Facebook Live, but only 2 people showed up, you celebrate that you did that live. You did it, you went for it, and that deserves celebration. Why are we celebrating all along the way? Because you have to teach the subconscious this journey is pleasurable for us. And then it gets on board and everything turns around, because instead of having that saboteur you're constantly coming up against, what you have is alignment and support. and you get more energy, more motivation, more focus, because your subconscious no longer thinks that this is a dangerous journey for you. All right, so those are the steps to take if you're doing this on your own. I will say, absolutely, the best shortcut I've found is hypnosis, because you can sleep while the words that your subconscious needs to hear are going in, and it's creating that imagery as well. And that will, make the journey so much faster. Plus, we go back and get rid of those original rules, because that is a way to open up that rule book. But that's going to be an answer for some people, not everyone, but you absolutely can take these steps yourself and over time create those new neural pathways that eventually, this switch flips and it goes from this is dangerous to this is safe and right for us.
Thank you, Barbara.
You are very welcome.
I think now it's just throwing the floor open to questions.
And I will stop the share. There we go.
Who has a question they'd like to ask Barbara? Okay, I bet you do. Go on. Oh, Steve's got his hand up. Go, Steve, go for it. Are you making noise? Are you muted? You're muted at the moment.
There you go.
Just many years ago, I went on some workshops.
If your sound's it's not correct.
Okay, I'll fix this computer. Is that better?
Yeah, we can see you.
Many years ago, I went on a series of workshops on psychosynthesis, and there's a lot of that kind of rings kind of true again. And one of the things I actually talked about was not just like forgiving yourself or allowing yourself to let go of your lower unconscious, but also open your mind to insight through the upper unconscious through guided meditation. So I have done that for, only attempted to myself for about 20 years. I should do again. One of my kind of negatives, and there's coping mechanisms for that one, but I want to go back a few years where I was in a situation where I thought it was really great. I'm making great connections with the clients I'm working for. I'm feeling really, really good with myself. Then I met with somebody else, and it's almost like taking their own personal problems out of the organisation. And I got kind of bombarded with everything. And one of the countries I found very, very hurtful was because I had these ideas a few times about it. It was the line, well, if the idea was any good, somebody had done it already. I thought, okay, so that's also that. So within myself, so I was kind of telling myself, so I'm not good enough to come up with an original idea.
Right. And of course, what did they say, right, is that there are no original ideas anymore. And of course, by taking an existing idea and improving upon it, or just putting your own unique way of doing it, has huge value. But what happens is that when someone comes along and we get triggered in that way, then I guarantee you, Steve, there'll be something that happened in childhood that made you decide a very similar thing. Right. And then it's there, and we don't even realize most of the time that, that these are underlying until something like that comes up. And you can tell when it's coming from your subconscious, because, your reaction is actually so much bigger than the thing itself. Right. So, okay, that was one person's opinion. And I'm sure there were other people around you who absolutely would have or were supporting you and saying, no, this is worthwhile, or, you would have been able to find those people if you had reached out. But it's like suddenly that one negative voice just brings up all that old fear and doubt, and we go into that fight, flight, or freeze, right? And and retreat back and start thinking that's the truth about ourselves, when in fact it absolutely is not. It's just something you decided about yourself as a child in one, difficult moment, and then it gets triggered in a situation like that.
If I'd been better prepared, I knew that person was going to be so negative. I could, like, in my own head, have this kind of mantra. Uh, Whatever you say is your problem. So, for example, saying, somebody else. So, what I should have said in my own head. So, what you're actually saying is that you haven't got the kind of ideas or capability of putting an idea like that into action. Therefore, you'll say publicly to anybody else who has that idea, it won't work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was all about their own insecurity. And another great thing that everyone can do on their own is when so you can look back on that and see, okay, that triggered me. And suddenly, this belief of I'm not good enough to come up with an original idea is popping up. Write that on, the top of a journal page, and every night you are just spending a few minutes writing down everything you did or experienced, or even things you saw from other people during the day that prove that to be false. Because it's back there in that rule book, your subconscious is going to try and keep reinforcing that is true, because the subconscious doesn't decide which of these rules you wrote are good or bad. It just treats them all the same, and it tries to reinforce it because, we don't ever want to forget that hot things burn or that we need oxygen to breathe. So we're designed for all of these beliefs to be reinforced. And that's why that came up so strong for you. So then what you need to do is retrain your brain that, that belief is not true. And you need to use your conscious mind to just do that bit of journaling every night until it again, that switch goes over to actually believing the positive belief that is the opposite of that.
Wonderful. Has anyone else got a question right now you'd like to ask? I have one, actually.
Yeah.
When it comes to celebration and the size of the celebration and what you do, often it can be, I've done so well at this, I'm going to eat this chocolate bar as a celebration. But that's not actually being kind to ourselves at all. And I can't think of what the saying is, but this is a guy called Eric Edmeades, and he says what we do to treat ourselves, we think we're treating ourselves as a celebration. We're actually treating ourselves badly.
Right.
It's not actually treating ourselves well. So I just wondered, what are the different things that we can incorporate of different types of celebration? Because obviously you do it a lot, that are good for us, that are healthy, that, relative time, like I might take a week off to celebrate my MBA, for example, and do something massive, because that's massive.
Yes.
But sometimes we do just tiny things and go, God, what I just did was massive, but it was tiny, really.
Right.
So like proportional rewards, I suppose, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And actually, I'm doing a workshop for a multi-level marketing group tomorrow. And one of the things I'm having them do is mind mapping their goals. But when I do mind mapping, I do it with all these different elements that make the subconscious come on board. And so they have to have a whole section under celebration where they brainstorm all the little things. And it's your favorite cup of tea instead of the chocolate. It's taking that break and going out for a walk, but putting the headphones on with the music that you love listening to, picking up the phone and calling that friend who always makes you laugh. Or, there's so many little things we can do that don't cost money, that do cause us pleasure, that normally, especially as entrepreneurs, we don't allow ourselves to do during the day. I'm too busy. I have too much work to do. I'm not doing it now. Or you have that one lunch date every week with your friend, and you start saying, oh, that's how I celebrate my success. Well, if that's a regular lunch date anyway, that's not celebrating your success. Your subconscious knows, it's not stupid. So you have to be taking those little moments, doing those little things for yourself, lighting that scented candle that makes your work atmosphere so much nicer, but that you're just not going to get up and do normally. And it's those types of little things where you take that moment, and as you light it, you say, I'm doing this because I'm celebrating making that phone call, sending that email, approaching that person I found intimidating. So it's great to actually brainstorm 20 different things that you can do and then have it somewhere you can see it. Because it's one of the things I struggle with my clients the most, even though it's all about pleasure, is actually having them give themselves permission to do these nice things for themselves and do them consistently in celebration of those little milestones.
Yeah, great, thank you. I can't tell you how many times I've struggled with writing a LinkedIn profile, finished it, and just gone on to the next one.
Yeah, that's what we all do.
Even stopped.
And I definitely do the chocolate too, Naomi. I haven't been able to get past that one myself.
Yeah, they have that for good days and bad days. So much bad day with some more chocolate. Mina, you put your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to. Yeah, I just want to say that something in me happens when, say, for example, somebody compliments me, saying, "Oh, you look like you've lost weight," right? And I've been trying, and then as soon as I get that compliment, I go back in and start eating again, and I just, it's a complete. It's just. I really find that part of me really frustrating. Or somebody will notice something, and I will just completely.
It's goes into classic sabotage, right? I mean, and now, so do you find that with all compliments, or only when it's about appearance, or only with certain things?
I think it's more about my weight and my appearance. Yeah.
Okay, so there will absolutely be, something in your past that does not think that losing the weight and being the size you want or the way you want to look is safe or right for you. And there's all sorts of things when I work with people on weight and food. It could be that food was love, growing up very much for you, and therefore when you are denying yourself food, you're literally denying yourself love. It could be, it's not safe to have people looking at me in a certain way.
I think that's what it is, and I kind of looked at it a lot over the years myself, and right. I think it is about feeling safe to be noticed.
Yeah.
I think it all evolves around that, to be honest. Yeah.
And that would make a lot of sense.
I know why.
Then, when the compliments are coming, that is the absolute flag up, right? Oh, people are noticing, and this is not safe for me.
Well, what would be a technique that you would use to overcome that?
Okay, so then again, doing that journal of, why is it safe for you to stand out, to be noticed?
Yeah.
And making sure, so, can you also then always say something back that indicates pleasure? So, and I'm sorry to say this, I know that, as an American, it sounds obnoxious, but generally the British culture, right? You are socialized to take compliments and crush them. and say the opposite negative, or make a self-deprecating joke, or and that's part of the culture, and it's but the problem is that what is that sending yourself a message of over and over again, that it's not okay to say thank you, I actually feel great, or thank you, I love the way I look. So you may not be able to say that back to them, but you can say, thank you, I have so much more energy, or something positive, so that as your subconscious is going, oh, wait, that's not safe, you're telling it exactly why it is safe and pleasurable.
Right, great. Thank you so much. It's really helpful.
I'm going to send us to a breakout room in a minute, but Louise, you want to ask your question quickly?
Yeah, it's not a question, it's an observation. I thought it was really interesting what you were saying about how our tribe when we're a child,
Yeah.
and how that forms our beliefs, forms our. And I was brought up in a really cautious and kind of quite negative family, but now I've spent 20 years in a totally different tribe because my husband's whole sort of way he is so different, and it's like those neural pathways have gradually changed by association, because I am now a very positive, very glass half full person, very can do, very everything, but I'm still not now. My family that are members that are still around, I'm not in step with them anymore,
Right.
because
Right.
I've changed tribe, and my whole way I live, and that must have changed something over time. So that's really interesting, the way that you can almost erode your, by a slow process, not as conscious of what you're talking about, which I think is amazing, but it does happen. I feel that's what's happened in my life.
And that's a perfect example, Louise, of your subconscious responds to what you are seeing and hearing over and over again. And so, you're with your husband all the time, right? And seeing the positive of his family and seeing the pleasure that it brings.
Yeah, and building an amazing business. We've built an amazing business because I've fallen into step with that positivity and that can-do attitude.
Wonderful. And so you're the perfect example, right? This is what happens then when your subconscious turns around and says, oh, wait, it is safe and right for us. And, and the business builds and the abundance comes in and the money can come in. And it really is an amazing transformation when it happens.
Yeah, that's so, I want to help people with, as we were saying in the breakout room, therapy to move forward in their lives with different therapies to what you do. But it is that whole thing of, it is possible to change, and it is, whether it's fast or whether it's just by association and slow, but you suddenly realize how far you've come after a number of years, don't you, within a different tribe.
Yes. Absolutely. And, a lot of people, unfortunately, are held back by that fear of, I'm going to be abandoned by my family. If I become the successful one, or I become the thin one, or the whatever that is, and then you don't belong anymore. There's a lot of fear around that. And, and so being able to give yourself permission to let that go is huge.
I was lucky because that didn't bother me. I just wanted to be different. I think I knew I wanted to be different. And so I went out there and I've been different. And I don't apologize for it to my family. I am just different,
right,
in the way I look at it. That's the way it is.
Brilliant.